Hey, what's happening, guys?
Hi, guys.
Welcome to our review of Terminator from 1980s.
I think it's 4.
In the 80s, in the mid-80s. I'm your host, Chad, and this is my co-host,
Arianna.
And Arianna has gotten to see the movie for the first time. So, First off, just a real quick, what are your how did you feel about the movie?
I liked it more than I thought I was going to, but I will say, like, out of all the throwbacks we've done so far, like 80s film, I was the least impressed.
Oh, interesting. Okay. What were you more impressed
by? Well, no, just like, you know how we just watched The Thing or whatever, and
okay,
like the
thing,
costumes and all
totally,
that,
right.
and the makeup and everything. Like, at points in time, like once your eyes focus after you get past the jump scare, it looks kind of cheesy, but it's not, you're not immediately like, wow, that's really lame and cheesy. There's a lot of parts in this where I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I would say
they weren't working with much. So it kind of like switches your frame of thought when
That's actually part of what's
too.
Cool, though, is that this movie had a shockingly low budget.
Yeah,
and so for being such a tentpole movie, I think it was impressive what they pulled off. The two parts that stick out to me that fit what you're saying is the short amount of time they tried to use stop motion towards the end of the movie when he's just in robot form. Stop motion always dates things, you know. It's unless the whole movie stop motion, it can be rough to fit it into the real world. And then the second part is when he's operating on his eye. That's exactly what
those are exactly those times.
Yeah, for sure.
And like him doing the eye, I'm just like, I hate it's very obviously fake too. So like your reaction to it,
he has like no movement.
And he's clearly an actual 80s robot face. You know what I mean? It's not. But what's crazy though with that part though too is when he's driving the truck at the later part and he like looks at the guy, his makeup there looks so much more real. Like, why wouldn't you just have it?
Well, because they had to have him actually cut an eye out, so they had to make a fake head. So I think So,
I mean, I feel like you could have shot that with angles, but whatever.
Yeah, so let's just kind of a quick rundown. What kind of happens in this movie?
We open naked Arnold Schwarzenegger, who, by the way, in his prime, hello.
I know, right?
Such a great butt. But besides that, so he comes up, he steals some clothes, and then you see another guy come, which, for the record, had no idea that was part of Terminator at all, that there was a second dude.
Right, I was going to ask you that,
also, like, so I had no idea. What I really like, though, was, like, you can pretty much, how they differentiate, like, how he is instantly, like, shit, I'm naked in the middle of an alley, versus him just, like, casually walking full frontal up to this group and be like, so, like, I really like how that, like, they show that, so it kind of gives you, like, a little bit of...
Totally agree.
Yeah. A framing of how to see both the characters too,
right.
so
Before
you're not
you get the flashbacks to kind of
know exactly how it is. So that was cool.
Were you always kind of on Team Kyle Reese, or did you think they both were maybe bad guys?
I thought the way it was going, I wasn't sure, just because of what the picture I had in my brain. Like, I don't know why I thought the Terminator was like not bad. I don't know. Like, I thought somehow he ends up playing for them and isn't the bad guy the whole way through.
So that's a better question. Was that, like, were there scenes that were, like, really surprising that, like, oh, this guy's kind of a son of a bitch?
Yeah. So, like, when he just starts shooting everybody up and they're shooting up Sarah Connors, I was like, oh, so he's not a protector. Okay. I don't know why that was in my brain or what that had to do with it. But I was like, oh, no, you're just trying to kill her. And then when he started taking out everyone and giving no shits, like when he takes out Ginger and takes out her boyfriend and everything, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, you're just bad. Like, you're all around bad.
You're past the point of the, like, he's just misunderstood.
Yeah. He'll, like, he can be saved. No. Terminator cannot be saved.
Horrible, rotten bastard.
He's the worst.
Yeah.
The police, so and then she's on the run.
Yeah, she starts to hear all the news reports, all these Sarah Connors are dying. And after the second one, she's like, this is
bad. Like, I gotta go. And then she goes and looks up in the phone book and be like, oh, shit, I'm next. I've got to go. So I was kind of cool with that.
Which is a cool device, too, to have the 80s, like, having phone books be relevant.
Oh, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You couldn't do that today, so that was kind of a cool thing they had access to. You could literally
for sure.
Look
and it's like every phone too, like every, which is insane. I did love like the 80s scenes, like the music and the clothes and everything else. And
her friend is a lot of fun, right?
Her friend is a lot of fun.
I
was like, girl, at one point in time though, I want to be like, girl, take that Walkman off. You're gonna die. You can't hear shit.
Well, I was also like, I kind of wish this movie was about her.
Yeah, she's way more fun.
It was so fun. I liked her a lot. I really thought it was a really funny scene, like a surprisingly funny bit where her boyfriend calls and he's like, that scene just plays really well.
It's like
gives it to her friend and he just starts the same thing over again.
Yeah,
so good.
Okay, so the police.
Right, she goes to hide at the police station.
So she's hiding at the police station. I fucking hated that criminal psychologist.
Oh, right.
But also, side note, background in psychology. So I was just like, all this shit's unethical right now, and I'm pissed.
Oh, yeah.
also, like, see how Dana was like the stigma of mental health and stuff like that, too. Like the most technical term, he's a loon.
That's what he said. I was trying to remember what he said. Yeah, I was like, cuckoo bananas or something? No, he said he's a
I was like, I hate you. Yeah. But then when he when he goes against the car, though, I was like, he's like, I'll be back. I was like, didn't know that was where that line came from. I was like, you're coming back way faster than I thought. And then I was like, are you going to get it? And I was like, car. And it just takes him out. I was like, okay, that's kind of badass, but terrible.
How kind of like, I think that action scene actually like stands up today.
Yeah. That one does for sure.
Like there's definitely like budgetary stuff, but other than that, as far as how it was shot and the brutality of it, that reminded me of what 80s R-rated movies kind of felt like, that I feel like we lose that feel now.
Absolutely.
But it's like a really haunting scene.
It really is. I will say this though, and this is where I get lost in like the subtle touches of a James Cameron movie. In the beginning, I'm like, James Cameron. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I was like, there's going to be a lot of fire. Now, the random fires all throughout the police building, though, unnecessary.
From bullets.
Like, why are there just random fires in rooms? So that's where...
the future, right?
I know, but I just kept...
The whole future's on fire.
Well, the whole future is, but the police station in the 80s... No,
it's just funny that, like, why is the future all on fire, too?
Absolutely.
You know? Everything's just on fire.
So I just, like, I started cracking myself up, and I felt bad because I had that thought. I was like, there's going to be a lot of fire. And I sound so stupid when I say it at the beginning, but now I'm like, ha-ha!
There it is.
Past me is not wrong.
That's so true. Also up to that point, I think, is now when we start getting flashbacks from Kyle, or is that later on? Okay.
So they're a little bit more spread out, too.
They are.
So
they
when
kind of pop around.
the biggest one, obviously, is good. So he gets her out of he gets arrested, whatever. He gets her out. They get to the underpass.
Yes.
Or overpass or whatever.
She starts fixing them up and stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
and he's like, tell me a story. And then that's when the full flashback comes back and you see the picture and everything else, which was like really sad.
It was. It's, you know what? It also, though, can be a tiny bit creepy.
It is creepy.
It's a little creepy.
It's like, just like how they're dressed and stuff. Like, my whole thing is like these poor, like, civilians leave it, like, all like, that was one thing I said too, is like, they're in all this weird clothing. I was like, how the fuck do these soldiers have full, like, manufactured gear?
The other one is, I actually thought it was really creepily coolly done how the Terminator that messes up all the civilians, the glowing eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was really creepy.
That was really creepy.
And he says like, that at that point they had, like, rubber skin and stuff, so it's kind of only from a distance you couldn't tell, but they've been getting better and better and better at it.
Well, that's why they had the dogs, because there's one rushing in. Yeah. So that was cool. And then,
I meant was creepy was him having her picture.
No, I thought it was super creepy.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie. That also
volunteered.
that gave the rest of the storyline away for me.
Well, that just means you're smart. That's good. That's fine. I don't think it has to necessarily. Maybe they want it to be a big like, oh my god, he's John's dad. But it's
it's like from there on out. I was like,
the pieces are
I'm
there.
like, okay, so
also in the underpass, she says like. I think she says maybe not that she's a virgin, but that she like or he says he's like a virgin or something.
No, he says that in the hotel room.
Okay.
Right before they like get intimate.
So when they do, I think that because they keep like bringing that stuff up, you're kind of like, oh, like but you got to be kind of fake if you don't know.
I don't know. Pretty much from that moment though, I was oh, you're John Connor. And then I got real weird for a second. I was like, oh, could you imagine sending your dad back to impregnate your mom with you, who then dies and you never know him, and then you know him when he's young.
It's also there's also
meta.
Like, obviously, it's obviously a paradox too.
Right.
So it opens up a lot of questions.
How does that work?
Yeah, because it's like, well, he wasn't my dad when I sent him, but then he retroactively was. There's a possibility that maybe he had a different dad, and when you go back in time, it's like a different timeline thing.
Maybe I know. But I started thinking too much. I got distracted from the movie, so I shut that shit down real quick.
But then it can't be a different timeline because they sent him back to fix the future. So if it was a different timeline, he would fix a different future on his own. But maybe they are sacrificing their future. So like, it's definitely one of those movies that like Looper joked about that where he's like, we could play with straws all day and try to connect everything, but it's not going to matter.
No, it doesn't matter. So I got that, and then when it was like, and she said that, and then they get to the motel, and then also like, don't give the number away, don't say where you are, stop talking.
That was a huge, right? Is that the part where you realize that the Terminator's actually impersonating the voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was also the thing, though, too, for me, Sarah got on my nerves.
Yeah.
For a couple different places.
Right.
So when it was moving forward, so when she's like running her stuff and whatever, but that was one of the people I was like, ooh, girl, I'm kind of mad. And she's like, I'm shaking, how can I be a hero? And he's like, and they go into that, so that was cool.
My thing with Sarah that I've kind of changed, because I've watched this movie the first time probably when I was like under 10.
I feel like I'd like her a lot more in the second one.
Well, what happens for me because you do see her transformation at the end of this one, which is really cool.
Yeah.
What I think I've grown, because the problem is the casting of Linda Hamilton and partly her hair. She looks like a mom in the first movie.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be playing a very, very young girl, like maybe 18 or 20.
It's also the 80s anyway.
Well, it was. So, like, I just think her face shape plus her hairstyle had such a, like, and also, like, we're millennials, so that's what our moms looked like. So I still see that and see my mom.
That's fair.
So, what happens, or, you know, white people's moms. So what happens is I think, to me, she comes across as someone who's like in her late 20s, maybe early 30s. And a lot of her behavior seems really frustrating. But if I'm like, no, if this person is like 18, then now I'm like, okay, I guess like you just don't have any life experience, you know?
Right. But that's fair because she doesn't come across that young.
She doesn't come across that young to me, right? But they keep trying to remind you in the beginning part that she's young. So it's like as I've gotten older, I've kind of like, okay, like I kind of buy the whole idea that she's just kind of a young, dumb, semi-older teenager, maybe early 20s. But like she goes to the club or whatever, so maybe she's like 21. But I don't think they're trying to sell you that she's 30.
No.
You know, so yeah, her actions as a 30-year-old are substantially more annoying to me than as a young person.
So it was just one of those things. That truck scene, that sequence was super cool though.
Yeah, the chase.
Like, the chase was really cool. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't outstay its welcome. Yeah. I think a lot of modern action movies I've seen have been 15 minutes long.
It did not need to be. You're like, whatever. Yeah, so basically when he gets hit by the truck driver and then gets in that, like that was a really tight, and I just love the makeup there and everything too. That was super cool. And then everything else. And just the only thing that like got to me was I was like, Kyle lived through the explosion. I'm like, yes. I was like, I really want to see this love story unfold through the second one, maybe.
Yeah.
And then he has to like blow himself up to blow him up. And I was like, oh, here we go.
That's part of what I love about the movie, though, is like, it's been coming up in, not to get too in the weeds and like what, what's going on in my live chat, but like we've had the conversation multiple times about like different heroines and which ones work and which ones don't.
Right.
And I think that Sarah Connor totally works, and they did such a good job with her because it would have been so easy to make it where you think Kyle's dead, she's getting attacked, oh no, it's going to kill me, and then Kyle comes and saves her, and she's just another damsel in distress.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's
but
so
for her,
sick you get to watch her go from kind of that babe who is like, I'm so over my head, and she like, what did she say? You're a terminated motherfucker.
Yes,
like,
dude. She got a good cheer from me. Yeah, I was like, that's sick, awesome.
Dude. Like, no, she saved her fucking self, man. You know, that's awesome. I think that's so sick. Like,
she had the machine kill the machine.
But that's part of the thing is like Kyle doesn't feel pointless.
No.
So he does enough to feel like he's earned his place in the movie.
Right.
But still, Sarah gets to be the one who actually fucking takes out
which
the Terminator.
I'm totally cool with.
And then it makes you believe that she becomes the
leader of the movement, basically.
Kind of thing. Yeah, like so like I just. Part of what I think makes this movie still work so long after it came out is even though a lot of the stuff is dated, it's a super tight script. I think that things don't overstay their welcome. I think that the big points that matter stick in your head and generally work really well. Like again, the police gun down scene, I just think works. And if we were to do a scene basically just like it, that was just shot with like modern cameras, it would be like just do it the same way.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. So. Here's the part of the show we're going to start getting into more of some more the themey stuff. So, like, I was just kind of getting into it with, I think that the script is just extremely tight. This is the kind of script where if you want to write a movie, especially like a kind of thriller like this or like a woman in peril movie or something, I think this is a really good, like, backbone for a structure where it's like, okay, like, we set up who our guys are. It's a little confusing, but we explain a little more as we go. Here's these beats that we hit. And I just think all the beats are just super killer.
I do not disagree with that.
And also, I think the understanding the Terminator less through like there's definitely a couple scenes that are a little bit of exposition dumps, but I also don't think those overstay their welcome. No. And it's Kyle kind of frantically being like, God, I have too much to tell you in such a short amount of time. So look, here's what's going on. Here's what's going on. And he only really does it, I think, in the psychiatrist office, at the police station, and in the car ride.
In the car with her.
And those are kind of the only. So they're. I don't. Did you think that it was too much? Like, were you like, okay, come on, let's like show don't tell.
No, I was more. I didn't feel like it overstayed or stuff. I was like, dude, you can say this stuff to your balloon face to these police. They're not going to believe it.
Yeah, right.
Which he also can't, like, what are you going to do too? Yeah. But then it does give us a lot more information for it to be set up for more too. And for a viewer, no. Yeah. Am I annoyed that he's as the character? Yes, but that's just
But it's also nice because they had the function of the police asking him direct questions.
Yes.
So it also gave him a reason to be doing it.
Exactly.
Kind of dumb.
Absolutely.
The other big kind of themey thing going on here is like, how do you feel about the 80s interpretation of basically the future of like an AI gone wrong. I feel like AI is such a common kind of thing now that anyone in Walmart could talk about. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like that in the 80s. You know?
Absolutely. I think it's crazy that they went from 0 to 100 real quick. They're like, oh, we got this smart machine and we just took y'all out. Yeah. We do not care. This is like, it's nuclear immediately. And because they don't give a like set timeline for it, but they don't make it seem like it's that far in the future.
Very near future, yeah. I like the idea that Skynet became awake and then just kind of bided its time until it figured out like how exactly it was going to do it. Yeah. Just like we never had a chance.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't...
Just nuke just instantly. Yeah. That'd be the way to do it.
Right. It didn't start with like robots walking out and marching and the army fought. Like, just nuked everybody right away. You know, so everyone had to start from so far behind.
Let's be real. That's probably more the way it would happen in the first place in present day. Yeah. Honestly, so actually it's like kind of a crazy concept.
That's why I'm asking. I think the themes are interesting.
Yeah, because I do think that would be the way it would happen too versus like iRobot, like you said. Like, that's not...
Army of robots, right?
If they're already that smart... I mean,
well, and you think they would take down like every grid we have, like the internet would be out, the freaking the electrical grids would be out and everything. So because it would just be able to hijack everything. Yeah. So I think that's another thing that's kind of cool is like some of it comes across like we know, but it wasn't yada yada we know.
No, exactly.
Then. So it's really kind of impressive how he got the. Just a lot of sentiments that today, if you were to make the movie for the first time today, everyone would be like, yeah, we're kind of on board with that. So I think that's cool. Obviously, I think like, them looking like skeletons and stuff is definitely played up for a movie. But I just think it's actually interesting how kind of in depth of an idea he had to run with.
And also, I do love the fact that they were like, the human flesh is to help it detect or whatever they're saying because... But basically, it's saying, like, no, this whole thing is just controlled by robots. So, like, they're not... That's the other thing that's crazy. Is, like, they're not making themselves look like the machines look like humans because they want to be the humans. They're making people... Or making the cyborgs look like humans to literally kill the humans. Like, it's nothing but a tool versus something... And a lot of movies, like, oh, we were made in its likeness. No.
They did it.
We made this in likeness... to confuse you to take you out. So that's also really cool.
The skeleton form would be necessary if you were doing the flesh thing.
That's what I'm
saying.
Flesh
won't fit, right?
Exactly.
So it's really cool.
So that's cool.
It is cool.
When you think about it that way, because it's like, no, it's just a big ship, like, you're dead.
For a movie that presents itself as like a dumb action schlock film. Yeah. And I hope that you guys trust that I would basically probably never show you something that actually is just a dumb, no. So it's like, even when they look like it on the front, it's like, no, there actually were some interesting ideas
for sure.
And an action movie can have bigger ideas than just like big muscles, big guns, All right, so let's get into what people had to say in the comments. All right, so Captain Lacqua Lacombe, I think, he asked, how different was it seeing Arnie as a villain if you're familiar with his more comedic kind of heroic movies? Do you have a background at all with any kind of Arnie?
Yeah. So I actually shout him out because I've seen Kindergarten Cop so many times. Okay, I actually opened the video with that. I'm like, this is interesting. I was like, I love me a younger Arnold Schwarzenegger because like I fucking was in love with Kindergarten Cop for no reason.
No, it's good. It's
Also, I think I said like I think my grandparents stopped buying videos after 1995.
So everything.
So like it's all like in that very. It was kind of crazy because he like wasn't comedic and he didn't have a lot of words and like He has what? I know there's like a trivia thing about this that he only has like what 7 lines the whole movie.
Like F you or whatever. Are you Sarah Connor?
Fuck you asshole. Yeah. Are you
obviously I'll be back. And then, it's very few. Very few.
And what I would say like I did enjoy it because he was so stoic throughout and his face like he really did not break. So I would say that was cool to see. Now, do I prefer my Austrian Kindergarten Cop? Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say, great physical shape for this film.
Yeah, definitely. Coming out of like Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
All right, so William Pitcher says, Cameron didn't originally want Arnold, but was really impressed when they met. They basically had like a lunch and talked about it. Okay, cool. Before I actually get into that part, another little tidbit. It's apocryphal that he wanted O.J. Simpson. Because he recently started acting in like some comedies and stuff. He was in like, Naked Gun. And what happened was Arnold and him talked about it, and Arnold was kind of explaining how the Terminator should be, and while he was explaining it, Cameron's like, well, this guy just gets it. I should just have you. So apparently, Cameron delayed filming to wait for Arnold to finish Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
Arnold agent didn't want him to do the film because he thought it was a mistake to play a villain, which is interesting because he would have had that kind of thing going on. Before filming, Arnold referred to the movie by saying it was some shit movie I'm doing. Take a couple of weeks. A sentiment he obviously recanted later.
Oh, wow.
The movie is unusual because the villain gets more screen time than the male hero. Oh,
that is true.
Oh, but here you go. Arnold only had 14 lines.
14 lines. Okay.
Because it's one thing that's kind of interesting about the movie is that Arnold spends a lot of time alone as the villain. We don't see every moment of the movie through the hero's eyes.
Right, correct.
So, like, the scenes where he, like, is operating on himself and he's going and sitting down. For all the scenes that Kyle Reese is kind of expositionally explaining what's going on in the future, Arnold's scenes are kind of cool because we learn more about how Terminators work without actually seeing, without him just explaining it.
Exactly.
Him just kind of doing the stuff like makes you go, oh, I understand it more. And it's also really cool because as the layers of our understanding of what they exactly are being peeled back, it's literally happening by him, like by flesh. It's like he starts out looking the most human and then just starts getting messed up and messed up and messed up. And then finally we see him like just in his like, most pure form. And I think that that's a really cool way to kind of reveal what the villain's all about.
Right.
So
for sure.
Okay. Fat Laces Piccola asked, does the minimal dialogue make the Terminator more menacing? And did you realize that Arnold only had 17 lines the entire film? Did you think it would have been better if he spoke more or less? How'd you feel about that? Yeah.
I think that was done perfectly.
Yeah.
He didn't need to speak. His presence alone was menacing when he's like just going through the gun list in the gun store.
Yeah.
It's just also just like totally saying to him, like, I'm here to do this, get this, bye, I'm gone.
Yeah, he's like, you can't do that.
No, he's like, oh yeah, watch me, whatever. Like, actually, I don't care. I'm gonna do it.
Definitely.
So I definitely think the less words, the better, because like he doesn't need to explain himself. It's very obvious what his end goal is. So why the talking, it would have been overkill and been unnecessary. We would have been personifying a character that didn't need to be personified.
I like too that they're both on a suicide mission.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
with Kyle, it's like, oh yeah, so this is like there is no way back. I'm not going home.
Yeah.
So it's like I just need to accomplish this and then I don't know, figure out everything after. But it kind of makes the villain a little more scary too because he's so brazen. The fact that he's not like sneaking around because he doesn't. There's no like plan for afterward.
No.
So he just has to, like he can just shoot the guy in broad daylight. And so all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, like how do you interact with someone who has no sense of self-preservation?
Doesn't care.
That's really like, he like, and that's why Kyle Reese has that great line of just like, he will not stop.
Right.
You know? So overall, I think Terminator is a pretty okay movie.
I liked it.
No, it's good. I think,
like I said, like I did like, but they were horror too, so that's not even quite the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But I will say, like I said, like I did catch myself like not losing interest as much as chuckling to myself about, like, honestly, like I chuckled at like her lines in the love scene, and I was trying so hard not to laugh.
No,
because
they are
like,
corny.
They do, but I do root for them towards the end though. But in that moment, I'm like, But yet again, I think that has a lot more to do with the fact though that she comes across older and not young. If she came across young, it'd be like, oh my God, the trauma, whirlwind romance.
If it was like
you know what
Cyndi
I mean?
Lauper or something, she always seemed really young in the 80s. Someone,
or like someone, a younger actress. I completely get where you don't even know, and it wouldn't come because it does. Like you just expect her to be more mature than what her character is supposed to be because of she just looks older.
Totally right. So that makes you like, roll your eyes a little bit more.
Yeah.
But like you said, by the end also you have a little bit more
I'm totally rooting. Yeah,
of
absolutely.
Their situation. So so even if you think she's kind of corny, you still have the like, I feel so bad for what you're going through.
Absolutely.
That you're kind of on board, right?
Like,
And
by the end, I was like, I would totally watch the second one just to see how her character moves on.
No, I think
you know what I mean.
I think the second one's the last good one. So I think we should do that. And there's like 8 or whatever now.
There's 8 Terminators.
There's a lot. There's maybe 7. I think Genesis was 6.
I don't like it that much.
Oh no! Well, and the quality drops off of a cliff at 3.
Oh wow!
Off a cliff. So yeah. So
cool.
So 1 and 2, but 1 and 2 are both James Cameron. Like while he was still thinking about it and it was fresh, and he wanted to play. He had more ideas to explore that he doesn't get to in this one. So we get to kind of see those, and then you kind of feel like he's kind of said everything there's to say about it. So I think that's a good way to kind of handle it. So yeah, that is our review of Terminator. Let us know what you think about it in the comments, and we will catch you guys next time.
See ya.